If you are coming in, welcome. Use this time to get yourself situated. Grab your papers, grab your pens. As you know by now, I am going to give you tips and tools that you can apply to your marriage right now, today. You're not going to have to wait till tomorrow. You're going to do that now. The other thing that I want you to do is you see that little sort of, I don't know, what is that, like a little plane looking thing, the head of a plane? Start sending that to your family and to your friends, to your coworkers, whoever you believe is also wanting to have an abundant marriage, because this is what this place is all about. It's about ordinary people like you and like me who believe in an extraordinary God, a God who can restore, renew, and a God who is willing and able to give us abundantly more what we ask for. And so guys, here at Abundant Marriage, my passion, my dream, my purpose is to reroute unsatisfying marriages towards satisfying marriages, from unhappy to happy, from mediocre to abundant. And so if you find yourself right now in the 83%, the 83% is currently living unsatisfying marriages. Well, it doesn't have to be forever. We are going to reroute to make sure that you are part of the 17%. Is it 17% perfect? Of course not. But they are intentional. They choose to love not only the good parts about their spouse, but yes, even the tough and difficult parts, knowing that the good work that God started in their spouse, He will finish. All right, guys, today's topic is, Amanda, we are not on the same page. A lot of wives has sent these questions. Amanda, what do I do if my husband is not on my same page? And by same page, they mean he is not supporting me. I feel like he's not my team. I honestly feel like I'm a single parent. One wife called herself an army wife, and it isn't because her husband is out in war. It's because she feels like she's doing this all by herself. I have another wife tell me, Amanda, whenever we're going to discipline our children, he says one thing, I say something else. We are not on the same page. I don't feel as though this is a team, a partnership, a marriage. I feel like it's constantly me against him against me. So I am going to give you 5 tips, 5 ways to make sure that you and your spouse are on the same page so that you get the support that you need so that your marriage can be a blessing. For those that are coming in, welcome. It is good to have you. It is good to have you. And again, as you know, this is an open-ended conversation. I'm not talking at you. This is a conversation that you talk, I answer, I talk, you answer. And so if you have questions along the way, please, by all means, ask. I'm looking to the left here because you guys are on my screen. And so as you ask your questions, I will stop, I will answer. If I don't get to it now, I will make sure to get to it in the next video, create a video just for you. And as always, if you feel uncomfortable asking questions here, which I hope you wouldn't, because all of us are on the same boat. But if you're not comfortable just yet, you can send me a private message and I would love to be able to help you out. And so what is the first thing that I would recommend that you do if you and your spouse are not on the same page? Number 1, write this down. You need to tell them, specifically wives, you need to tell him, because it's often the case, the wives are the one who is asking me this question. And so I am going to gear this message to you guys. You need to tell your husband, what is your priority? And here's the thing, because I can assure you that at times his priority is not the same as your priority. I'm not talking principles. In terms of principles, we are the same, right? I want you to think of priorities right now as a preference thing. So, for example, I had a wife who was extremely frustrated and upset and growing resentment because every single time she would come home, the dishes were not washed, right? The dishes again. We talked about the dishes last time. And here's the thing. It's not that her husband wasn't willing to do it. It's just that when she would come home, she would go and she would do it. And instead of communicating with him, she would just get angry, filled with resentment, do it aggressively and angrily, right? She's smacking the dishes all up against the sink, but he's just watching TV. He has no clue what's going on. And she's over there harboring resentment. This is not what we need to do. This is not what the 17% does. The 17% makes sure that they are having a conversation. Hey, this is important to me. Renee is very mechanically inclined. And something that is a priority to him is the following. There's a few things that really makes Renee upset. One of those things is if you use one of his tools and you don't put it back where it belongs. So he's very particular about where his tools are located in his shed. It's like his man cave, his sacred place. And so when you borrow a tool, he wants you to clean it and he wants you to put it back where it belongs. That is his priority. Let me tell you, that is not my priority. I don't typically care to use his tool and to clean it. And actually, I do the opposite. You know, Renee says that I am the destroyer. Oh, my throat is itching. Hold on. Renee says that I am the destroyer because when I use his tools, like I'm the one who cuts the grass. He's offered, but I particularly like to cut the grass. Between you and me, it's sort of my way to escape River and Reed. And so I love cutting the grass. And when Renee cuts the grass, after he cuts the grass, he spends more time cleaning the machine than he did using the machine to cut the grass. Well, my personality is completely different than his. So I cut it and then I just put it back and it's all filled with grass and it's dirty and it's a mess. Before Renee uses the machine, he checks the gas and he checks the oil and he checks all this stuff. I just sit on it and I turn it on and it drives him crazy. It drives him insane. And so because what? It's not a priority to me. And so I am not a genie in the bottle. I don't read minds. I don't read hearts. And so Renee needs to express to me, hey, this is a priority to me. This is important that you do this. When you use things, clean it, put it away. I'm kind of like my dad. My dad will use a paintbrush. He'll use a paintbrush and instead of washing it, he'll just throw it out and get a new one because he doesn't have time to waste. That's kind of my mindset. But again, Renee and I are different. And so if it's a priority to you, if it matters to you, you need to tell your spouse. Don't harbor resentment. Don't get angry. Tell your spouse. And now you might be saying, well, I've told him before, and even though I told him it was a priority, he still doesn't care. He just thinks about himself. It's all about me. He's self-centered, yada, yada, yada. You need to make sure that you are saying it in a language that he can understand. And so one thing that I am particularly annoying about is that this is something that my mom was particularly annoying about and now it's passed on to me. So when we sleep, I want the kitchen to be clean. And the reason why is because the next morning when I wake up, there's 500 different things to do. And so if the kitchen is not clean, then you have to start the day with cleaning and it's just another thing to worry about. And so the comparison I gave to Renee in a very loving and caring way is, hey, the same way that you want the things in the shed to be put in a particular order, in a particular way, that's how I feel about the kitchen. And so he got it. And here's why. Jesus models this exact thing. You know what Jesus does? Jesus always spoke in parables. Jesus always spoke in parables. In fact, the Bible says he did not speak outside of parables. And so when Jesus spoke to fishermen, he spoke to them about fish. When Jesus spoke to farmers, he spoke to them about planting and seeds and tilling the ground. When Jesus spoke to, give me another one, Renee. So to fishermen, he spoke about fish. To farmers, he spoke about the land, cultivating. To, Renee's blanking out and so am I. The point is, Jesus would speak in a language that the people would understand. And so try that. Remember, what you say is important, but how you say is important. So speak to your spouse, relate to them in a way that they are going to best understand the information you're trying to give them. And if that doesn't work, this one will always work. Hey, Renee, the reason why I want you to help me tidy up the kitchen is because if I do it all by myself and I'm going to be so tired, but if you help me and we do it together, we can come to bed quickly and early, and then I will be ever so excited to have sex with you. And oh man, he washed his dishes faster than he's ever washed dishes before. Okay? So speak in kind ways. Pay attention to the tone of your voice. Pay attention to your facial expressions. Speak in wisdom. Ask God, hey God, you spoke in parables. You spoke to people in the language that they would best understand. You know, Jesus, when he healed the man who was bound with leprosy, think about it. Here's a man, he has leprosy. He hasn't received a hug. He hasn't received a touch. He hasn't received an embrace from his family and from his friends. And what does Jesus do? Jesus touches him to heal him. Then you have the woman at the well, who she was despised, she was rejected, she was a Samaritan, and Jesus goes out of his way to spend quality time with her. Jesus speaks to us in the way in which we best understand, with our love language. So make sure that when you express what is your priority, don't assume that your spouse should know. You know, growing up, my mom would do this all the time, and it would drive my brother and I insane. You know, she'd come home and she'd be like, you guys didn't notice that this was dirty. Of course I didn't notice. I was a teenager. All I cared about was soccer. And my brother, being the good nerd that he is, all he cared about was studies. So no, I didn't come home and think, oh, what is there to clean today for mom? Didn't even cross my mind. So she would get so upset until finally we said, can you just make us a list? And she's like, I shouldn't even have to make a list. Well, we said, yeah, you do, because your priority is not our priority. And so facilitate. Tell your spouse what is your priority. Write a list if you have to. If you missed last week's live, we talked about that. We talked about household chores, the fight about household chores. And one of the long-term plans that we created was the importance of making a list, okay? Because at times, don't assume that the person is out to get you. Don't assume that the person is just trying to make you really upset and they don't care about you. Don't assume that. Give your spouse the benefit of the doubt. And could it be, maybe, just maybe, that your priority is different than his? That you're concerned about the dirty dishes, and maybe your husband is concerned about you needing to change your oil because it's already 3,000 miles over, like my car right now. Okay? And so, make sure you speak in parables, meaning that you are going to speak to your spouse in the language that they will best understand. Number 2, find the root. Renee, you did so awesome with this one this week. So check this out. I told Renee this week, I think it was like Wednesday or something. Yeah, Tuesday or Wednesday. I said, hey, on your way home from work, would you mind stopping at the grocery store? And I want you to pick up a few things. And so I gave him a list of a few things that I wanted him to pick up. And then I added, can you also buy something delicious? Okay? He hates it when I say that. I said, Renee, can you buy something delicious? And he replies, well, like what? Like what delicious thing? But I don't particularly know what delicious thing I want. I just know that I want something delicious. I don't know if that's been the case for you women, when you say, I'm hungry, and then your husband says, okay, what do you want? And you say, I don't know. And so he starts naming all of these different restaurants, and you're just like, no, all of them suck. Until finally he's like, you know what? Like, you choose. I can't pick the one you want. I don't know. And so I just said, Renee, just walk through the aisles and just find something delicious. And so Renee comes home, and I'm starting to look through the bags of stuff that he got, and I'm trying to find, I hate it when Kathleen does that. Yes, exactly. Well, because we don't really know what we want. We just know that we want something. And maybe through osmosis, maybe the Holy Spirit will reveal it to you guys, because it hasn't revealed it to us. So we know we want something. We're just not quite sure what it is. And the catch is that we're going to be really upset if you guys don't know what we don't know. Make sense? And so Renee comes home. I'm looking through the bag, and I'm not finding anything delicious in this bag. And I look at him and I said, Renee, you didn't buy anything good. You literally bought nothing that was good. And Renee's looking at me like, what do you mean? Like, I got this, and I got this, and I got your favorite ice cream. I said, that was my favorite ice cream like 2 months ago. I don't even like that anymore. He's like, what do you mean 2 months ago? I thought you liked this. And And so we kind of go back and forth. I say, oh man, you see, I just didn't like anything that you bought. We're not going to eat any of this. There's no food, that whole spiel. And Renee just looks at me and says, what is really the problem here? That's finding the root. Because really the problem wasn't that Renee couldn't find anything delicious, because again, I didn't even know what delicious thing I wanted. So he could have had 10 delicious things and I would have probably said I didn't like any of them. Because the issue was not that. There was a deeper issue. There was a root issue. And the root issue was that I was just overwhelmed. I was frustrated between the Abundant Marriage course, between my private clients, between, mowing grass that takes me 5 hours, River and Read, the nonprofit that we have that I preach every weekend. It's just a lot. And I was just feeling, and listen, not trying to complain here. If I'm going to be caged or a prisoner in anywhere, I absolutely love being a prisoner and caged in, I believe, ranch, okay? I appreciate the space and whatever, and I'm so grateful to God, but sometimes I just wanted to get out, and literally, if it's just walking through the aisles of the grocery store, and I just wasn't able to do that. And so my frustration was, I just want to get out of this house. I haven't gotten out of this house, and I want to go somewhere. And so Renee caught that. How did he catch that? By asking, what's really wrong? And in that moment, I was there's nothing delicious here. No food is good. Everything sucks. And he just stopped me in his tracks by saying, tell me what's really wrong. And so he had me then reflect, and that's when I said, well, what's really wrong is this. And then immediately he followed by this. So look, find the root, which is what he did. He asked me the question, what is really wrong? I told him what was really wrong. And then he says, what can I do to help? How can I support you? How about tomorrow you're able to go out for, a few hours and go back to the grocery store and maybe you'll find something delicious. And I'll tell you, I went to the grocery store and I also didn't find anything delicious, okay? Because that was not the problem. Oftentimes, pay close attention. Oftentimes when you fight, you literally fight about nothing. Research has been done by Dr. John Gottman, and he says the biggest fight that couples have is the fight about nothing. And it's usually the fight they said, and by the end of it, you're like, what were you fighting about anyways? And you don't even remember? Yeah, the fight about nothing. And so go to the roots. So first, when you do that, figure it out. Say, hey, what is really the issue here? Ask what the real issue is. Offer support. And then don't take things so seriously. Look, fighting, disagreements, we're all going to have it. The 17% who are living out abundant and satisfying marriages, it's not that they don't fight. I would argue that if you're not disagreeing, if you're not fighting, that you're not speaking to each other, okay? So there's going to be disagreements, but it's how you sort of bounce back from these fights and disagreements that makes all the difference. So we were kind of going at it, and then Renee, asked me what is really going on. I express it to him. He offers support. And then he looks at me and I look at him and I said, Renee looks at me and he says, listen, when you go to the grocery store, you come back and with this huge bill and I can't find food anywhere. And then I looked at him and I said, well, when you come back, you buy all this stuff, but it's nothing of what we eat. None of it is delicious. And I mean, it was just nonsense. We were both tired. It probably wasn't even that funny, but we just both started laughing. We hugged each other and that was the end of it. So have a quick recovery. Now, your concern might be, well, Amanda, maybe my husband won't ask what Renee was willing to ask you. And truly, okay, listen, Renee's done the Abundant Marriage course. And so as you go through the Abundant Marriage course, you will be able to pick up on these things. Renee will literally say, hey Amanda, hey babe, what's the root cause here? This is symptom. What is the root? So he uses this language because we are very familiar with this language because, well, we go through the course. And Renee will continuously go to the course with me. Every time new couples come, we redo it. We refresh our mind because, again, the 17% are people who are just intentional about having great marriages. And so if the question now is, Amanda, well, what if my husband doesn't have the discernment that Renee had to ask you, hey, what was really wrong? Well, if he doesn't and you believe that you do, then your job is to then tell him what is the root cause. If he doesn't ask, you tell him anyways. Maybe he doesn't even know to ask because he doesn't even know that there is a root cause. So number one, if he asks, great, you're going to go down that pathway that Renee and I did. If Renee hadn't asked, I would then make sure I do two things. Number one, I would make sure that I wasn't attacking his character, criticizing him, right? You go to the grocery stores, you never get anything I want, you don't know how to shop, or are gonna starve now because all the food you bought sucked. If I do that, he's obviously going to get defensive and he's gonna think, are you kidding me? I literally did what you asked me to do after work. I'm tired also. I stopped at the grocery store and you're so ungrateful. He's going to want to defend himself, of course, right? And so the first thing that you do not want to do is go after criticizing and attacking. Do not use fighting words. Pay attention to your tone. People are going to start wanting to fight with you. And then after you say, hey, backtrack. After Renee and I went through that whole route, a few minutes later, I said, hey, I'm sorry that I was unappreciative to the fact that you went to the grocery store. And so you can say, hey, thank you so much for going to the grocery store, and then add, next time when you go, can you not forget to get this? Or instead of this flavor, can you get this other flavor? Because here's what we don't want to happen. We don't want to happen that when you ask your spouse to do something and they accept and they say, yes, I'm going to help you, I'm going to support you. You don't want them, and this is number 3, feeling like anytime that they do something for you or try to support you in any way, that it's not going to be good enough. So moms at times can be real sticklers about this, which is the whole, you come home and the kids cleaned most of what you asked them, but he forgot to make his bed or he forgot to wash that one dish, and you completely overlook all the other things that he did, and you just go after and attack the one thing that he didn't do. And we do this with each other all the time. So instead of saying, hey, Renee, you didn't buy that one delicious thing that I didn't even know what it was, but that I wanted you to somehow find out, I could acknowledge the fact that he had a tough day too, a tough day at work, and yet he stopped and went and did groceries for me and for the family. So again, don't make your spouse feel like they are not good enough, that they're not going to mount, that they're not going to do it as well as you would do it, which is why oftentimes husbands tell me, Amanda, listen, I tried to support her, I tried to help her, but I never make the bed as well as she does. I don't cook as well as she does. I don't clean as well as she does. I don't take care of the kids as well as she does. And so the men start to feel like, what's the point? If I do it, she's just going to criticize that I didn't do it. So I might as well not do it because at least I get away with, not doing anything. And so again, typically speaking, people aren't super gung-ho about doing chores and supporting and doing these things, which is why, number 1, express to each other what is a priority, because your priority will be different or can be different from your spouse. Number 2, find the root. Find the root. I've said this over and over and over again because it's so incredibly important. Number 3, don't make your spouse feel like all of their efforts, all of their support, their trying is not good enough. Truly, there are probably things that you can do much better than your spouse. I actually told Renee the other day, again, Renee is extremely detail oriented. I am not. I like the big picture, okay? If I'm reading a book, my brain will literally skip to me what is pointless information. So let's say I'm reading a book and it says, the little boy was wearing a blue shirt, and as he walked to school, fill in the blank. My brain will immediately delete the word blue shirt because to me it's completely irrelevant that the little boy is wearing a blue shirt. I just want to know the big picture, which is he's going to school, okay, and then what happened next. Well, Renee is very much a detail-oriented person. He absolutely will remember that this boy wore a blue shirt. Now, the reason why I say that is because, number 4, we need to pay attention to personality differences. And so when I cut the grass in the beginning, when Renee was when I said, hey, there's a lot of things that you have to do. Cutting grass is going to be something fun for me because it's just going to have me think of nothing while I'm sitting on that machine. And so I started cutting the grass. Well, the first few weeks that I cut the grass, Renee, because again, it's his personality, he's detail-oriented, he went out there after I spent, I think, like 5 hours cutting this grass, and he was like, oh, like you didn't cut there, or oh, you missed this, or you didn't go around this tree. And I literally wanted to murder him. I was like, are you kidding me? I just spent 5 hours here and you're just pointing out all of the things that I didn't do right. And so I had this conversation with him because number 4, I felt like, hey, it wasn't good enough. And so I had to express to him. I wasn't going to be angry. I wasn't going to get resentment. But I said, hey, I just cut 5 hours of this grass. And it's not cool that you're just pointing out all of the areas that I missed instead of seeing all the areas that I didn't miss. And truly, I still miss parts. But Renee has learned to just appreciate that because I cut 5 hours of grass, he's able to now do something else. And so for me not feeling like this grass isn't cut to his standards. And truly, it is not. But we have to pick our battles, okay? And so number 4, we need to understand there is a personality difference, So I don't know about you guys, but oftentimes the very things that we disagree over are some of the things that we most appreciate from our spouse. Like I said, Renee is detail-oriented, which I appreciate that he's detail-oriented because Renee will absolutely notice if I cut half an inch from my hair. I would never notice, but he would notice something like that. And it's great. It's a great quality. However, in moments like cutting grass, yeah, it can get a little annoying. And so one of the things that Renee does is creature of habit, okay? He's very much in his box and he does things a particular way and he does it like that always. In the beginning when we were dating to get engaged to then get married, as soon as we sort of moved into our house, we were trying to figure out how our schedule was going to work and breakfast and getting everything done. And at that time, I was, which I think I still am, really into nutritionists and all that. I had actually gotten my nutritionist license and I was telling Renee, like, hey, we're going to have these sort of healthy meals and let's like, not extremely meal prep, but we're just going to have things that are easy to make so that we're not worrying about food all the time. So one of the things that we did was I showed him how to do this like smoothie that I learned how to make. And I kid you not, how long have we been married? 7 years? 6 years? 7 years? 7 years. And for the past 7 years, Renee has drank the same smoothie. Maybe he'll change like a blueberry to a strawberry. But the base of the smoothie is the same. And he's drank that every single morning. He's also offered it to me every single morning. And he laughs because he literally does. He will always ask me. And I've always said no because I don't want to drink the same thing or have the same breakfast every morning. So Renee is very much a creature of habit. So it means that because he's in his box, because he's consistency, that's how his personality works. Renee's not really a spontaneous kind of guy. Renee doesn't show up and says, hey, get dressed, we're going on a date. He doesn't do that. And so here's point number 5, don't compare your spouse to what your friends are doing or not doing on Instagram. If I compare Renee to, oh my goodness, my friend's husband, he is a hopeless romantic and he just randomly came home with flowers, or he randomly called her and said, hey honey, pack your bags, we're going to a trip and you don't know where we're going and I'm just going to, if I compare, I'm going to be very frustrated. However, although sometimes Renee's creature of habit and his perfectionist and detail-oriented, it drives me crazy, it's also the reason why every single night I forget to bring water. And every single night Renee has to walk downstairs and get me a bottle of water. Every single day he does that. We lay in bed and then he looks over and he says, do you have water? And every single night I say, no, I forgot. And he goes down and he gets it. Consistency, creature of habit. He asks me every single day. And so number 4 is personality. There are differences in personality, and you don't want your spouse to change to be just like you because it wouldn't work. And number 5, that was number 4. And number 5, don't compare to your friend's husband or your friend's friend's husband or what is going on our Instagram. Because when you start comparing, then you're going to take your spouse for granted. And there are so many qualities in your spouse that you are going to overlook if you're constantly comparing them to whoever's husband or whoever's wife. So again, if you are not on the same page with your spouse, if you feel like you are not getting the support that you need to run the household, in your marriage, with your children, etc., first, tell her, what is your priority? Be willing to share what is don't assume that someone should just know, because they shouldn't just know. And two, your priority isn't necessarily their priority. I have wives tell me all the time, Amanda, I don't understand. It's not a big deal. I don't understand why my husband doesn't value a clean house. It's not that he doesn't value a clean house. Everyone wants to live in a clean house, but if there's a few dishes in the sink, he's not going to lose sleep over it. And if you lose sleep over it, that's fine. But you need to communicate that. But not in an aggressive way, not in a sarcastic way, not mocking and demeaning. You need to communicate it the way Jesus communicates things with us. Love, with compassion, with patience, and yes, with parables. Find a point. Find something that he's going to understand. Men typically understand sex. So use that, but don't use it against them. Use it in a playful way. Hey, let's clean this kitchen real quick, and then let's get to bed real quick. And then something really great is going to happen. Have fun. 2, find the root. If your spouse does not know what that means, you reveal your root. So you need to start spending time with yourself. Renee's pretty good at asking me, hey, what's your root? But I also am very reflective of what's going on in my heart. So as soon as he asked me, I quickly could say to him, oh, you're right. There's something bigger here than the fact that you didn't bring home something delicious. And the reason is that I'm feeling overwhelmed, and I feel like I just need to get out of the house for a second, because I feel like I'm stuck here, because everything, my day-to-day is here all the time, and I just need to change the scenery for a second. And so you need to start thinking about your thinking, and you need to start figuring out why you are upset for things that really maybe you wouldn't be so upset over. 3, don't make your spouse feel like they are not good enough. Appreciate the fact that they are trying. Are they going to do it as good as you do? Of course not. Of course they're not going to do it, maybe even to your standards. But the worst thing that we can do, the way we can completely demoralize and unmotivate someone, is that when they truly tried, and they gave it their best effort, if you're there crossing your arms saying, are you kidding me? If you were going to do it like this, I'd much rather do it myself. And so don't do that, ladies. Give your husband the benefit of the doubt. Believe that he tried to do his very, very best. And his best was maybe your 80%, but appreciate his 80%. 4, personality difference. Look, like I said, we choose to change our characters, right? The choices that you make will create a different character. But personality and temperament, it's not something that is going to change. So learn to appreciate the differences. I got a question. Who do I have?
On Facebook, Jenny Keller said that's the hard part, communicating like Jesus did and accepting the differences.
That's absolutely the hard part. I think communicating like Jesus, as you're saying, Jenny, communicating like Jesus is a struggle for us, because the reality is that all of us, me, right, as Paul says, Jesus came for the sinners, of which I am the worst. We are all very selfish by nature. We are always very selfish by nature. And usually, we always want to look out for ourselves. And so when we feel like someone is not supporting us, it becomes me, 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 me. And so we go after and we attack. Whereas Jesus, he was able to communicate in such a way that he didn't use power over people, force over people, control over people, but he just influenced by his kindness and his goodness and his patience, where it was almost like people wanted to do what he was asking them to do because they saw that he had goodwill towards them. And I really truly believe that that's how our spouse will feel. If we can just speak with kindness, with love, if we can speak like Jesus, of course people will want to do what we're asking them to do. And I think the next thing Jenny said there is the differences in personality. Yes, we need to appreciate and allow people to not be carbon copies of ourselves. I don't want Renee to be just like me. Are there things in Renee's personality that drive me crazy? Yes. Are there things in my personality that drive him crazy? Absolutely. But it's also some of the things that I do appreciate. It drives me absolutely insane that Renee can drink the same smoothie every single morning. He drinks the same thing. but it's also the reason why every single night he brings me water. It's also the reason why, you know, this consistency that he has. It's the reason why I have so much stability in my life, because he truly is an anchor. So yeah, it's also the reason why he's not spontaneous. He's never, you know, showed up and done all these crazy, exciting, whatever things. Like I said, he's like an old man. But I love my old man. I love the consistency. I like the sureness of it. And so again, personality, and then finally, don't compare. Oh man, the thief of joy is comparison, because no one likes to be compared to, oh, if only I was married to this, if only I was married to this. The grass is not greener on the other side. It's greener where you water it. And we do not want to overlook the qualities of our spouse, because we are wasting time. That's what we're doing. Wasting time feeling like they're not amounting to such and such. And let's be real, guys. On Instagram, I'll literally tell you a story. I had a couple that I was working with in the Abundant Marriage course. And the wife was upset. I'm not going to go into detail so that no one finds out what I'm talking about.
Jenny said our husbands are so alike.
Wait, what?
Jenny said our husbands are so alike.
Oh man, Jenny. That's a blessing, right? They drive us crazy, but if he's like Renee, then you've picked a good one.
And she said that she also asked traz uma coisa gostosa. And he never knows what to do.
Yeah, see? Oh look. I think it cut me off on. I've been speaking for an hour already?
No.
You spent 1 hour on Instagram. Oh, that was your thing. Oh, okay. Yes, exactly. All women say, hey, bring me something delicious. And the husbands are like, what? And we're like, we have no idea, but find it. Bring something delicious. So look, we need to be careful with Instagram posts. People aren't going to put their worst moments on Instagram. They're going to put their best moments on Instagram, right? People tell me, oh, Reverend Reed are so cute, and they're so this and they're so that. Truly, they are cute, but they also drive us crazy, insane. I'm not putting pictures of them kicking and screaming or biting each other, right? I'm going to start sharing some of those to see if you guys still think that they're cute. And so anyways, I was working with this couple, and the wife was upset about something very particular with her husband. And she was giving him such a hard time, upset about it. And literally that very same thing that she was angry and upset and frustrated and growing resentment about, the very next day, she does a story saying, so proud of my husband, and then using the thing that she was angry and upset about as like something positive. Like, look at what he's doing. He's taking time to do this, when really it was like what they were fighting about yesterday. So do you see what I'm saying? So, and you know, and in the Abundant Marriage, she was open, but then on social media, it was all like, oh, I love that he does that. And really, she did not love that he did this. That was actually a point of disagreement, of argument, of turmoil in their relationship. So Instagram, it is an illusion. Don't base your life, don't compare your spouse to the things that are going on Instagram. Truly, you know, you'll have this husband who goes and he'll buy all these bouquets and this spontaneous trip and all this and that. Who knows? Who knows if that literally is the once a year that woman is getting her support. Don't wish for someone else's life. If something is broken in yours, you roll up your sleeve and you fix it. Only God knows all things. And it's almost frustrating to God when we wish we were other people, when we wish we were in other relationships, when we wish that or wish this. Focus on yours, grow yours, feed yours, tend to yours, and I can assure you that whatever is broken can be restored, can be fixed, can become abundant. Does anyone have any questions? I see some people joining here on Instagram. If you don't have any questions, we are going to land this plane and apply these tips to your marriage. See if it's helpful. See if it works. And as always, my DM is always available to you. So ask your questions. Jenny, thank you for participating tonight. Will, thank you for participating tonight. And, you know, as a lot of you said, hey, those are some similarities. Of course we have similarities. We are all in this together. We are all in similar boats, which is why we don't have to be embarrassed of sharing, embarrassed about that. No, we are all the same. We are very similar. And so we can use each other's strengths. We can use the moments that we messed up to help one another out. This is the purpose of Abundant Marriage, a community of like-minded individuals who want the same thing, abundance. All right, guys, so I will see you next week, Thursday at 8 p.m. See ya.